There is a person I want you to think about right now. Not someone who had hurt you, not the one who crossed a line, not the one who kept taking and taking until there was nothing left to take or for you to give. I want you to think about a person who let it all happen. Now I know that it landed somewhere really uncomfortable, and I can feel it from here right now. But bear with me, because what I'm about to share with you, it is not about blame. It is not about shame. It is about something which is much, much more important than both of these things. It is about the truth of who you actually are and why you have been living as someone much, much smaller. I spent years of my life being the person that people came to when they needed something. The one who always said yes. The one who adjusted. The one who quietly swallowed what he actually felt like saying and I remember this thought so clearly, because I believed somewhere very deep that keeping the peace was the same thing as being a good person. What I did not know back then was that I was not keeping the peace. I was keeping the performance. A very exhausting, a very lonely performance of someone who had learned somewhere early on that his comfort, his truth, his needs, they were somehow less urgent than anyone else's. Everyone else's, I would say. And the strange thing is, nobody told me this directly. Nobody sat down with me and said, your feelings matter less. It was just a quieter understanding. It was in the rooms where I shrunk without being asked to. The conversations where I agreed without actually agreeing. The moments where I felt something was wrong and then immediately talked myself out of feeling it. That is exactly how it works. It is never dramatic. It is almost invisible all the time. Until one day when it is not. I want to tell you something that comes from a place of wisdom that is older than me, much older than any self-help book that you have ever read, much older than the language of boundaries and assertiveness and toxic relationships. There is an ancient scripture, the Ashtavakra Gita, which is essentially one long, devastating conversation about identity. About who you think you are versus what you actually are. And it says something that the first time I encountered it, I genuinely did not know what to do with it. It was so powerful, yet I did not know where to apply it. It says that you're not your mind. You're not the roles you were playing. You're not the accumulated story of everything that ever happened to you. It says that you are this awareness behind all of it. The witness, the sakshi, the drishta, the one who is watching. The one who was there before the story began and one who will remain when the story is done. Now, why does it matter for someone who keeps getting walked over and over again? Because this is what I understood out of it. The doormat is never your nature. The doormat is a role, a learned strategy, a survival mechanism that has been there for so long and so deep that it has started to feel like a personality. And you cannot fight your way out of a role by pushing harder against the people who put you in it. The only solution is you can step out of it by remembering who was there before the role was assigned to you. Let us try and remember something for a moment. Think about the earliest time you remember making yourself small for someone else. How old were you? What was the feeling like? That specific, tight feeling that held your breath just before you swallowed what you actually wanted to say. Most of us, if we are honest, can find it. It is not recent, it is old. It is like childhood old. It is before we had words for it, old. Because what happened, and I say this with as much compassion as I know how to offer, what happened is that somewhere in the formation, you learned a very understandable equation. If I accommodate, I am safe. If I comply, I am loved. And if I disappear a little, the room stays calm. And in the context you learnt it, maybe that was even true. Maybe it was genuinely the smartest thing a young person in that situation could do. But here's the problem. The mind learns. And what it learns, it repeats. Long after the original situation is gone, long after the people who created that environment have left the room. You carried a strategy forward into every relationship, every workplace situation, every friendship, not because you were weak, because you are human. Because it is what minds do, it is what human minds do. They run old programs in these situations. And nobody tells you this is happening. And that is the part that used to break my heart a little every single time. Now here's where I want to introduce you to something. Because I've seen people try to solve this problem from the outside. Assertiveness training, boundary talks, mirror affirmations. And I'm not trying to dismiss any of that. At least not completely. But I want to offer something that goes much deeper. There is an understanding, some people call it the inside-out understanding, that says that your experience of life is never, ever being caused by what is happening outside you. It is being generated by thought. Now, I know how weird that sounds, and I know the first thing the mind wants to do is to fight this thought. It wants to say, but you don't know what they did to me. The situation was real and the pain was real and you have no idea. Yes, I believe you. All of that was real. And all of that, what you're feeling is also real. But here's the distinction. The situation happened. Full stop. That was the first arrow, as the Buddhists say. The second arrow, the suffering, the smallness, the feeling that you have no right to take up space, that second arrow is always made up of thought, and that runs inside you. And that thought is not fixed, thought is not permanent, that thought is not you. Okay, let me make this a little practical because philosophy without application is just beautiful noise. Wow, I should know that. The moment you are about to say yes, when every cell in your body is saying no, in that exact moment, there is a feeling. You know the one. It is somewhere between the chest and your stomach. It is tight, it is held, it is a kind of pre-apology that lives in your body before the words even form. And that feeling is not weakness. That feeling is information. It is your own deeper intelligence, a part of you that has always known your truth, that has always known what was right for you. It is that intelligence trying to get your attention. And what we have learned to do, those of us who became very good at being walked over, is that we have learned to override that signal extraordinarily quickly, almost instantly. We translate into guilt, into selfishness, into I'm being a difficult kind of a person, and then we comply, and then we tell ourselves we choose to. And this practice, I call it practice because it is not one-time fix. It is a direction you keep returning to. The practice is simply this: pause long enough to hear yourself. Pause long enough to hear yourself. One breath, one real breath. And in that breath, ask one question. Is what I'm about to say actually true for me? Not will this maintain the peace? Not will they be upset? Not I'm being selfish or difficult or too much? Just, is this true for me? Because your truth is not the enemy of relationships. Your truth is only foundation on which real relationships can actually stand. It is the foundation on which relationships are built. The Ashtavakra Gita has this quality that I find even now slightly difficult to describe. It does not try to comfort the way you expect for it to be comforting you. It does not say that you are enough, you matter, your feelings are valid. It does not give you all of that. It does something stranger, and in my experience, something much more liberating than that. It points you back to the one who is aware of all of it happening. And it says that one, that awareness, that witness, that drishta, that sakshi, that one has never been small. That one has never been a doormat. That one has never needed permission from another human being to exist fully. The smallness was always a case of mistaken identity. Mistaken identity. You took the role and thought it was the truth, like an actor taking up a role and believing that he is that. You took the learned pattern for your nature. And your nature, underneath all the accommodating, underneath the people pleasing, underneath the strategies that once kept you safe, your nature is already whole, already free, already in some fundamental way untouchable. And I know that it might be a little hard to feel right now, especially if someone did something genuinely painful to you, especially if the pattern goes back very far, especially if the person who walked over you was someone who was supposed to love you safely. But I'm not asking you to feel it fully today. I am asking you to consider it, to hold it lightly, to let the possibility exist that the version of you who got walked over was not the whole truth of you. That something in you remained intact through all of this happening. Because I believe that, not as a motivational sentiment, as something I have seen in myself, in people who came to do this kind of inner work with me. I've seen what becomes available when someone catches even a glimpse of who they are beneath this role. Once you realize this, once you get that glimpse, everything reorganizes itself. Not very dramatically, not like an overnight change, but something shifts slowly, surely, and eventually. And then something else shifts, and then another thing that shifts. You did not become a doormat because you were broken. You became one because you were intelligent enough to survive a situation that required for you to be smaller than you actually are. That was back then. That intelligence served you then, and it is costing you right now. And it is expensive, and it is not needed now. And the way out is not fight the people who walk all over you. The way out is not building walls, rehearse confrontations, or turn yourself into someone who trusts no one. That's not the way out. The way out is to come home to yourself. To the part of you that has always known your truth, that felt it clearly even when you talked yourself out of it, that whispered, "This is not right," even when you smiled and nodded away. That part of you is not damaged. It has been waiting very patiently for you to stop running the old program long enough to hear it. The doormat does not step out of the pattern by fighting. It steps out by remembering that it was never a doormat, that it was always something else entirely, something that needed no one's permission, no one's approval, no one's grace to be given, something that was already completely, unconditionally whole. If you know of someone who is in this emotional turmoil, tell them this. They are also complete and whole. Share this message along. Spread this truth and love, and it will return back to you in some form or the other.